Press council.
5 minutes. The other guy was up there 9. 5 minutes.
I'll have to sign in.
I yield the balance of my time.
State your name for the record.
Lois Drumheller, Monroeville. Good evening. In an effort to
Lois, can you speak into the microphone, please?
oh, it's not reaching me here.
Well, no, you just
Better not touch it.
Okay, just leave it there. We'll
just speak up, please.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Gee, I thought I pretty much
can't,
had a
but
loud mouth. In an effort to maintain healthy waterways in Allegheny County, members of Sustainable Monroeville who met this Monday night at the library we're talking about a lot of different things. One of them was a plan to join other volunteers in the watershed and joining volunteers actually in Oakmont. The borough of Oakmont is conducting some testing to learn the basics of water testing. So testing our waterways is something that they obtained a grant, and in large part that grant was due to the Allegheny Watershed Alliance. AWA has worked with one of the councilwomen there who I got in touch with, and I wanted to mention this because this is an opportunity to ask others in Monroeville to join us. We not only have an opportunity because of the conversation that I had with some of the testing that's going on in Oakmont, but we can conduct training here in Monroeville. I know this because I contacted a person who's in charge of securing that training, and they are out of the AWA, the Allegheny Watershed Alliance. So the borough of Oakmont is setting up a series of this training for testing waterways, mainly conducted in that watershed. And they are combined with the Senior Environmental Corps. I spoke with the coordinator, like I said, and we can set up further testing. And I'd like to call attention to this because if persons can contact the Facebook page of Sustainable Monroeville, that information can be given to you. The nice thing about it is, you know, it's very expensive to buy tests to go into the midstream of, let's just say, the Plum Creek, because Plum Creek runs the north side of Boyce Park, and all the tributaries go toward the Allegheny River. So we have Plum Creek in our backyard, and once you're trained, you can use the actual test kits. Now, test kits can be expensive, but if you're a senior, and that is if you're 55 or over, maybe it's over 55, but that could be 55 in a day, these test kits are free. The training is free, the test kits are free. They enable you to walk in, once you've been trained to do so, for testing the following things: nitrates, phosphates, temperature, pH, alkalinity, conductivity, iron, and flow rate. And if there's an immediate concern about fracking in the area, the recommendation is to test more frequently, like once a week. Generally, they either test monthly or even quarterly, depending upon what measurements are found to be related to runoff, industries, farm, and residential areas, or in our case, we have a lot of acid mine drainage. This environmental health data is collected not only to monitor the air in our environment, but our water. I've been talking an awful lot about this. I've been trying to tie this into an interest in what we originally had as a proposed ordinance for zoning oil and gas. I know that ordinance was withdrawn from consideration. But environmental health data is collected to do these things that are guaranteed by Article 1, Section 27 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, which is that the people have right to clean air and water. And there are many people in Monroeville who can now, for free, if they are 55 or over, make a difference in performing this, especially if they have the free materials. So we really mean to have training here, but there are specific dates. One of them is June 21st, and the other one is June 26th. So we're sort of on a deadline here. I could give information from anybody, but June 21st is 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Penn Hills Park. And that's where the AWA and the Senior Environmental Corps get together and to practice. And then the other one, it's not really an AWA-sponsored one, but it's in Oakmont. Oakmont's very progressive with this stuff. June 26th, 4 to 8 p.m. at the Oakmont Library. They will be training with a group this must be an acronym. It's ALARM, alarm. I don't know what that stands for, but they're out of Dickinson College, and their focus is on making qualitative observations in order to detect fracking waste or natural gas entering the system. So those are all great things. There are things that you can do if you are under the age, if you find out how much it costs, at least get the training. The training is free. And at the same time, we really should, as Dave mentioned it, I have something to say about the 5 minutes also, should reconsider best practices to roll in to what we have for not only air but water monitoring when we return the efforts to a comprehensive zoning ordinance, which was really at the point by 2015 to be entered into a public hearing by the Planning Commission. I've been trying to ask directly to the chair of the Planning Commission what they felt they would be doing since that was put on hold. And the comprehensive planning, the comprehensive zoning would include an oil and gas ordinance. I know from the county comments to that ordinance that was pulled that they had some things to say about, what they recommend. They recommend to have a better definition of wells, because the 1984 ordinance does not specify what a vertical well is from a hydraulic fracking well. And that's the county's recommendations. I want to do what I can to facilitate, just as a number of people wanted to get together. I tried to contact you a couple of times this week, Tim.
Yeah,
I was at work.
An email tag.
Yeah, I was at work playing email with you, and at the same time, we want to get something here going so people can join us and give us their information.
Thank you, Lois.
Now,
You're at 5 minutes. Actually, you're at 7 minutes right now.
Okay, I want to say something about that 5 minutes. I wanted to remind you, because I know that you're aware of this, and not everybody reads every ordinance. I have mentioned before ordinance number 2482, and that was actually updated in 2010 when I sat on council. And it actually does specify in the section that is Rule 7 under A, and that the public shall have an opportunity to address council as established by the agenda during a public business meeting. Now, that's your business meeting on Tuesday. A written statement should be prepared, and then persons wishing to address, will have, presentations will be limited to 5 minutes, except if extended by a majority vote of council. Okay, that's fine. That's a business meeting. The agenda is set. But if you go to Section B of that same ordinance, council will conduct citizens' night, as mentioned there, and work sessions on Thursday.
Yes, and it does say the presiding officer, which happens to be the mayor, and majority of council may limit discussion within a reasonable time frame.
That's true.
And I have set the standard of 5 minutes, which I believe is 5 minutes is plenty for a citizen to get up and stress their concerns. I think we're usually pretty fair with that. We've had a couple people even tonight that have been over 5 minutes because we go back and forth with the discussions. But it's at a 5 minute, it's a 5 minute time limit. You will have another opportunity at Tuesday's meeting to address council if you'd like to for another 5 minutes.
Yeah, providing it's on the agenda. So
No, at the end, no, I'm sorry, at the end of the meeting.
end of the meeting?
At the end of the meeting,
Sure.
you are allowed to speak on any
Sure.
municipal item, which will be granted another 5 minutes. And
I
I think that's
understand
more
that.
than enough. It allows these meetings to be efficient. It allows us to get work done. And certainly, if people can get their point across in 5 minutes, that's more
And
than fair.
sometimes they can,
And
but,
I
you
feel
know-
that as the presiding officer, as the ordinance that you're pointing out to me,
Yeah.
I may limit discussion within a reasonable time frame, which I am saying is 5 minutes. I appreciate your time tonight. If you would like to come back on Tuesday, you're more than welcome to.
And I'm saying to
Thank you.
you
Thank
that
you.
in the 5 years that I was up here, we
Mrs.
had...
Drumheller.
walk out on a
Mrs.
meeting
Drumheller,
We
please.
had a more reasonable definition
Mayor.
of reasonable time.
Did you-
Mayor,
did you
I
walk
think
out
since
on
she's
a
not
meeting?
able to follow the rules,
Here, let me just go
that
ahead.
perhaps she needs to not be able to address council at all until she's able to follow the rules.
Well, that's not very
Well, I don't think we
fair.
have to go there. I think we can maybe ask Mrs. Drumheller
No, I don't think that's
professionally.
very fair. I think
I'm
that's
sure
kind
we're
of
trying to keep professionalism
Lois,
here.
there was
And we have rules.
There was a person up here addressing
Mayor,
council
may I
when you were
continue to
on it.
address myself to you?
Already you're 10 minutes for crying out loud. Go sit down.
Please.
Yeah, is this the kind of demeanor that's in that same ordinance?
Well, what I would like to say, the ordinance says 5 minutes. You've exhausted your 5 minutes. I would ask council not to comment anymore, to let the
Thank you,
next
Mayor.
person, let the next person get
That's
up and
a
address
good
council
man.
if they so wish.
Fair enough.
Guys, you're walking into a trap.